Hello. Hello, world. We have to wait until it actually tells us it's gone live on. Oh, no, top messages. 5 people watching. Hello, people. I assume
They'd just like to see what biscuits we've got this
they
week.
do want. What biscuits have we got, Phil?
Before
I know we have started.
Fabulous Foxes Viennese milk chocolate dipped fingers because it's been grand final weekend.
Is that to celebrate Batley being what have Batley done?
No, we've gone. Let's celebrate the grand final properly with a posh biscuit.
Welcome to 4020 live on the 14th of October 2024. I was hoping we'd have a special guest today, but she's busy again. She's
in demand.
Always busy. Yeah.
In demand.
You won't believe this, actually. She's having to pay for her dinner this week.
Really?
Because usually she gets freebies all the time because she's famous and off the telly, but this week she's having to pay.
I think all that gossip we could have got.
I know. Have we got any gossip? Oh yeah, I've got an exclusive for you, haven't I?
Yes. Start with the exclusive.
So the exclusive coaching
as exclusively revealed.
As revealed, exclusively on the 4020 podcast. It wasn't really an on-the-record chat, was it? But he wasn't off the record either.
He didn't say, don't tell
anyone. Kyle Amos retired from coaching. So until he, I mean, what's his name retired, didn't he? Sam Tompkins.
But he doesn't want another job, he said.
So,
it's not just that he's not at Whitehaven anymore. He doesn't want another job.
Because we saw him, because he was on the pitch afterwards, and we said, "You all right, Kyle?" I don't think he knows who I am, but you all right, Kyle? Even though he was on that panel with us in St Helens. But yeah, he's retired from coaching. So well done to Kyle, and enjoy your rugby league. I mean, he might be off now for a bit, mate, because he's not on the BBC, people. So there's no more rugby on Sky for a while now. So I know they've got the Pacific Internationals, but he doesn't work for Fox or Nine.
No, they won't be flying him over to Fiji to commentate on that, I don't think.
Which is a shame, isn't it? And his former St Helens teammate also made a debut this week. James Graham's now a wrestler.
Oh right, okay, I must have missed that.
Yeah, he's a professional wrestler. Well, I don't know how much he got paid, but yeah, in Australia.
Did he look good?
He looked small.
Has he got a nickname?
I don't know. He should have one, shouldn't he? But he'll have to come up with a fake name because that's what they all do. Because Luke Menzies, formerly of Salford, is now called Ridge Holland. Because there's lots of people in Yorkshire.
But I wondered if, like the darts players, they were going to give him an appropriate. James the Tackle Graham.
I mean, he's got
that might be misinterpreted.
Yeah, he's got a podcast with more listeners now. So if you've got any ideas for James Graham's nickname, you're probably best telling him directly rather than us. But, but feel free. Maybe in the clips I've seen, he looks okay for a first match.
Got the moves.
Yeah, for a first.
Did he win?
That's what it's all. He did win, yeah. So can't lose. He's a famous celebrity. He actually is. They like him in Australia, don't they? He's on telly and stuff. So he's one of those people like. So he could be one of those. There's a big wrestling event coming to Brisbane next year at Lang Park or whatever it's called these days. So
Suncorp.
If you were the promoters of said event, you'd get James Graham involved because people have heard of him and he might sell a few tickets. I know he wasn't a player for Brisbane, but still he's known.
He will have played at Brisbane.
He's known in Australia. So after all those stories, every year that you'd get a clickbait merchant saying, "Earl Crabtree to get WWE contract," he never did, and he's he's actually doing it.
Is it WWE wrestling?
Well, no, it was just some random Australian whatever. But the funniest thing about it is, of course, people are surprised by this, despite the fact he said it on his own podcast that he was going to be doing it. So the Maghull Mauler says Phil. Les says James the Big Ginge Graham. Well, that's just just pointing out the obvious, but that's professional wrestling for you.
Yeah,
that they've had worse.
I think James the Tackle.
Yeah,
he'd like that.
They've had worse. It's grand final, mate. It's done. That's it. The domestic season is... Oh, no, there's still Wakefield Toulouse to come. The domestic season is almost over. Internationals have started. Internationals are coming tomorrow. Wales and Jamaica. It's not being shown anywhere, is it? Apart from live in Nice.
The Knoll.
The Knoll. With a G at the front of it.
I haven't seen streaming. No. But Wales Rugby League may stream it?
On the anniversary of today of England beating Wales in Ebbw in 1984. Andy Kelly's only England cap.
Ebbw Vale, a big rugby league tradition. They were part of the Northern Union.
Great picture.
Twice.
Great picture on our Twitter feed of Gary Schofield. You remember him? And Des Drummond hugging each other after scoring tries at some point. But Grand finals.
Grand
Old
finals.
Trafford. We were there. You might have been watching on telly. I don't know. You might have been there if you were there. Let us know. What did you make of the game? It's divided. It's the game that's divided opinion, says clickbait people, because it finished 9-2 to Wigan.
The lowest ever score in a grand final.
Wow. I'd not realised that. I don't know why I'd not realised
Beat
that.
10-2 the year before.
So next year it's going to be 8-2, and then, I mean, Wigan must be gutted that they conceded 2 points.
I have to say, I think the analysis has been really interesting because there's an inbuilt thought that because it's not high scoring, it can't be entertaining. And we watched the NRL Grand Final, which was 14-6, and said, you can only but marvel at defensive performances and the intensity. And I thought we had a fantastic... I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to have got enough credit. I think that their performance and the standards they've set in the last month of the season and to appear in 2 consecutive grand finals and not concede a try is putting defence at another level. And you can have fantastic gripping games that aren't 42-40.
It's not just a matter of winning games when you have to, when it's knockout football, but winning games and defending to the point where in the last month they haven't conceded a try.
Well, we get to see the stats the morning after, and the astonishing thing for me was that 3 Wigan players made over 50 tackles, and a 4th made just under 50 tackles.
That's something we should be shouting about. That's
a massive stat. It is it's just astonishing that 4 players made 209 tackles between them. And they were on for big minutes. And normally we talk about fatigue and attrition and wearing them down. It doesn't seem to happen. They need an enormous amount of credit for that. Clearly, if you're a neutral fan or an uncommitted fan or not even a rugby league fan, you want to talk about Bevan French. And we should. We should be playing that clip endlessly everywhere. It was brilliant. It was genius. We talk about Harry Smith's kicking game. Fantastic. Talk about the bravery of Junior Nasemba.
I'll get rid of Bevan French.
Is that who it was? But actually, there was some for me. There was something for everybody in that final, and Wigan's defensive performance should have been lauded far more than it was. Too much was read into, Hull had a lot of ball, but they couldn't do anything with it. Maybe they didn't perform as well as it. There were twice when they were held up over the line. There were twice when Ryan Hall went close in the corner and the cover defence forced him to throw the ball inside and Wigan scrambled again. It was a masterclass. It's a new level of defence over here that I think we should be lauding and not saying, it wasn't a great game because there was only 1 try.
I used the word suffocating in the middle of the game, and that's what it felt like because there was no room. There was no room for Hull KR to do anything.
And I don't think it was that they played under par. I think it was more that Wigan had a game plan that said, we're going to target the guys that we know are going to cause us trouble, but we're going to wear them out as well. And special word for Elliot Minchella, who came back into the team after a couple of weeks off with a ban and headed the tackle count with 59. There's not a lot more you can do on a losing team. I thought...
Are they going to name a bar after him for making 59 tackles?
I just thought Hull KR weren't a million miles away, but they could not... No team would have broke... Even Penrith would have struggled to break down that Wigan defence. We laud it in the NRL. We should applaud it over here.
So 5 games ago for Wigan, and it will be the same for Hull KR because they've had the week off as well. Wigan conceded 20 points against Hull KR. Mm-hmm. And whatever happened in the week since, they just seem to have gone up 2, 3, 4 levels of whatever it is that they do. They know how to win big games. They've won.
It's not just
won
that.
Everything.
I think, yes, they do, because clearly the more you play in them, the more you get attuned to, you're not going to be affected by the atmosphere or the occasion. 7 trophies under Matt Peat in 3 seasons, 6 in a row, is just remarkable. And you know, they can play open and attractive rugby if you want. Liam Marshall's a top try scorer, for goodness sake. So clearly they know how to play open rugby. Harry Smith's kicking game was a masterclass. And if that had been a Danny Maguire in 2017, we'd have, masterclass. Well, he should be... Harry Smith possibly would have been a Rob Burrow Medal Award contender if French hadn't been the guy who every time he touched the ball looked like he was going to make a difference. He was the game breaker. So he absolutely deserved the award. But I just don't think we give Wigan enough credit for that defensive performance.
Kevin said exactly what I did, that they know how to play and win the big games. And that's down to not just the head coach, but as he gave credit to in the press conference afterwards, Sean O'Loughlin and Tommy Luluwai, who do the defence and attack.
They could defend.
There must be something that you can't coach players in terms of tactics to just go out there and do everything time and time again.
I think you've hit on something really important there that I don't think we fully realised until we went in the press conference, and that was the flying in of Bevan French's uncle and younger brother. And I think that's what gives the players a commitment to the club and each other and whatever the Wigan way is. It was a wonderful story. So, presumably people have heard it, or you'll be able to read a bit more about it in the new issue of Forty20 magazine, the grand final issue of out on Friday.
All of the grand final.
But obviously, Bevan French is living away from his extended family, but he gets messages every week from his uncle Shannon, telling him actually that he needs to play better, and they show it to all the players, and they all think it's brilliant. And they had a whole video put together of messages from families for the semi-final, and Shannon was one of the stars of it, and it was Chris Radlinski that said we need to get him over with Dion, Bevan's younger brother. But they kept it from Bevan French, so he only knew they were here when they did the jersey presentation. Again, things like that, and Chris Radlinski's involvement and being almost the epitome of things Wigan is why you want to make that tackle next to the guy. It's all bound up. We just seen a clip of an interview that Matt Pete's done tonight about saying he thinks the club can do more to help the people of Wigan with childhood obesity and childhood poverty and homelessness, and that link back to the community and having a reason to make your 53rd tackle when you're absolutely exhausted. It's not just linked into your physical ability to play the sport, it's wanting to do it, and that's where I think they're further ahead than anybody else, and it showed on the pitch on Saturday.
Can anyone catch them next season? Because they're not making any... not losing any players, are they? I don't think, or anyone that we're not expecting.
That's solely about their own motivation, their own reason to do it. Because, it's a predominantly young team. Mike Cooper clearly retired during the season. There's some fringe players, with the greatest respect to them, who are moving on. But the core of those people that played on Saturday night, one or two that didn't get in the team, Willie Icer will be back next year. He's been very big for them. He's a big influence whether he plays or not. Sam Walters clearly was the 18th man. They are not going to get worse unless they can't get themselves up again. But I don't see any reason why they couldn't. The other thing that we haven't made enough of is winning all 4 trophies, because it's different each era is different. But in this summer era where everybody is full-time professional, it has proved to be almost impossible to peak right at the very beginning to be an extremely good Penrith side, to peak again to win the Challenge Cup final, to have a little dip in form, peak again to win the Leaders' Shield, and then actually get better in the last month of the season. To be able to do that, it's unprecedented because it's so damn difficult.
And so I don't offend any supporters of clubs that did win all 4 cups in the olden days. I'll use Wakefield as an example, who didn't, but went close to. Very close. In 60 and 62. Is that to win for Wigan to win everything they have, and yes, they only play Penrith in the World Cup.
Only play the best team in the world.
But in the Challenge Cup, everyone's in, obviously. And in the playoffs, you're playing the best teams. And in the Super League, you're playing the best 12 teams in the country. In the olden days, when you won the Yorkshire League and the Yorkshire Cup, you're only playing against
half. It was about half of the other
And
team.
maybe some of those teams were not quite at the level of even if you want to say London this year or Hull, they might not
I
be.
genuinely think that what Wigan have achieved this year and the way they played in that grand final, I think there was a case for saying Warrington didn't play as well as they would have liked in the Challenge Cup final, but to be an excellent Penrith team who took that game incredibly seriously, and to be what I thought was a very, very good Hull KR team, but not good enough to beat Wigan. They deserve to be the BBC Sports Personality Team of the Year, if nothing else. Their achievements should be acknowledged rather than anybody say, oh, I'm not sure Hull KR played to their best on that stage. They weren't allowed to.
And you can't even compare them to the Wigan team of '94 because the game has completely changed fundamentally since then.
The calendar's changed as well.
Everything's changed, and that's not saying this Wigan team aren't the greatest this team's the greatest because every team it's like every player in every era. You can't. We don't know how good Billy Boston say would have been in this era or before because there's no way of knowing.
See, I thought if Wigan were going to have an Achilles heel in the latter end of the season, I thought that's when Brad O'Neill got injured because I thought he was incredibly important to them. I think if he'd stayed fit for the full year, he would have definitely been in the dream team. But they managed that, and again, it's because some of the parts is it's greater than the whole, so people can come in, and it's almost as if it's not going to make any difference because they believe in whatever it is the collective, and they deserve it. Matt Peat, but everybody in that Wigan organisation deserve enormous credit in the same way that Hull KR deserve enormous credit for being the nearest to be able to get to them this year, and that is a fabulous story. It's a great journey. I think the only worry we had beforehand was that if Hull KR would freeze because they'd not experienced the grand final. The first 20 minutes there was nothing between the teams. No. French broke that game open with his try, but Hull KR were great for the first 20. Had a try rightly disallowed. No doubt we'll talk about the December incident as well and the ramifications of that with Petr Hiku. But Hull KR were as good as Wigan in the opening 20 minutes. It's just that Wigan never relented.
And Jake Wardle should have scored. And that would have made it even more comfortable.
A wonderful try-saving tackle from 87-year-old Ryan Hull.
Who'll be leading the Dad's Army of Ryan.
But who was the leading meter maker in the entire game, which is phenomenal.
We need to do more with the stats while the games are on. We need to know what's going on. Like as we did at the World Cup a couple of years ago.
Well, they are live. I mean, Sky get them live, and in Australia, all of the broadcasters can tell you, what we need. Do you know we don't just need it for the running game. I was chatting to John McMullen about this on Sunday at the wheelchair game. We need to know what the G-force is of those wheelchair collisions. We need to know what the speed is when somebody's either tracked back to make a tackle or someone has broken clear and gone the length of the pitch. We need to know how many tackles Jodie Boyd-Ward made yesterday. We think we know that she made into double figures, but we don't know because we don't. All of that we should have access to.
Especially, not the day after. I mean, you've got the stats. I haven't seen the stats.
It's stories.
I would go on the Super League website, but half the players aren't on there still. So, well, not half the players, but you know what I mean. What with Brian Bevan people do it after every game. They obviously won't need to do it this week, but John Bateman's not on there because he came in late or whatever. So I don't know. What have we got here? Kevin says Nathan Clear with his Hull KR top on. Good to see him there.
Yeah,
he's signing for all the teams in Super League, which
great
is great.
Friends with Tyrone May.
He's broken his silence on his non-move to Super League, which everyone with half a brain knew beforehand. If I could work it out, you could. His partner plays for Man City. They're in Manchester, as far as I understand.
Where was the grand final?
It's in Manchester. Well, it's in Trafford, isn't it? It's in the borough of Trafford. Don't upset the people of Trafford who are watching this podcast in their drove so far this evening. Les says Hull didn't try enough off-the-cuff stuff. Chip over the top when there's such a quick defensive line.
The thing is, you're not going to chip over the top too often if your in-goal areas are so short that you give away a 7-tackle set. But you don't want to give Jai Field the ball in space. So again, Wigan have have got every base covered, and I didn't think I don't think Hull KR could have done a lot more. They could not break down an impregnable defence.
I think what people may have found annoying about the final, and may not see it in the same way that you have so far, is the fact that they never really saw Wigan in trouble. They didn't think Wigan were going to lose at any point. And I didn't think they were going to lose before the final, so it doesn't make any difference to me. But there wasn't that drama there.
Well, I compared it to last year. I don't think Catalan did enough last year. No. I think they came to contain. They didn't come to win, and that was a long 80 minutes. Obviously, we were there Saturday night. I thought the time flew. I thought the game was captivating. I thought there was lots to note down and admire. I thought the atmosphere was fantastic, which again, full credit to the Hull KR fans for being involved in that. You know, there were emotional highs with the Borough kids bringing out the Rob Borough trophy. I thought it was a fantastic event, and people have said, oh yeah, it was a bit dour, and we needed more entertainment. I just think, you know.
They had a band on, they had flashing goalposts, what more do you want?
I don't watch a lot of football, but I'm told you can have very exciting 0-0 draws.
Oh, there's a lot of rubbish ones as well, though. A lot of rubbish ones. Junior and Sember signing for 6 years, no NRL clause, just says it all, and French about how much they love the club. It does, Kevin, it does.
It does, but that wouldn't stop an NRL club making a...
Here's £250,000,
yeah,
lads.
Yeah.
Do you fancy it, Chris?
But I do think that there is a real willingness and desire to want to be at that club, and that's to the credit of Matt Pete and the culture, for want of a word that we can never define, that he's brought, and the buy-in from the people above as well that get it. You know, the owner Mike Danson is a very private man, but he has made sure that the players have had everything that they need. He's redeveloped Robin Park and all. You know, it's just a very well run club that we talked about Las Vegas, didn't we? That it was Wigan's instigation that Super League is going to be in Las Vegas. Chris Stradlin has not given up on my being a World Club Challenge. It won't be at the beginning of the season because of Las Vegas. The interesting thing is, I think there's been a proposal, and possibly it might even have been by Nathan Cleary, and I hadn't realised this, that Magic Weekend at the moment in Australia, one team has the bye because they've got 17 teams. It's Penrith this year. So if we could find a way in the Super League season of allowing Wigan to fly out for the Magic Weekend in Australia and play Penrith in the World Club Challenge, might be a solution.
Could well be. It would be nice to have that game, wouldn't it?
I think it'd be fantastic. I think the trouble is it's quite close to the Challenge Cup final, so something's always got to give. But the interesting thing is that the NRL are talking about fewer games. We play more than them. So at what point is it going to register here that we need to play even fewer games?
The Wigan Australia programme I posted early from 1990. There's a discussion in there about the fact that we play more games than the Australians do.
A quarter more.
Credit to all the players, never even noticed the ref, said Phil. You had a good game.
The ref was fantastic. I mean, if we had a ref here, if we only knew a referee that we could have got here to laud... He's got his heritage.
He's got his heritage number. He's got a heritage shirt.
I thought Chris Kendall was outstanding. In an event like that, you need to have flow. I think there were few penalties. Every adjudication he sent up to the video referee went up correctly. They agreed with it. There was no contention in that respect. I thought Chris Kendall had a fantastic game that enhanced the occasion, which is all you can ask.
We need to get Warren Turley on because he was the reserve touch judge. What do they do?
Did he get a medal?
He gets a medal as well, so he's won up on Hunslet. So well done to Warren. He looked good in his tracksuit on the pitch side anyway. So well done to him. Junior Sembo head injury thing. Well, he must have been passed by the doctor, or was he wouldn't have been on the field?
I like everyone else has probably looked at it more than once, and two things struck me. One is I'm amazed that Joe Burgess perhaps hasn't been brought up before the beak, because I thought December landed on his shoulder. There was whiplash, and clearly he's a little bit stunned. And then Burgess comes in to effectively complete the tackle. But I thought that might have been one of the reasons why he went off for, an HIA. He clearly passed it. The sport is not in a position to allow players to ignore an HIA just to go back on, because we'll never get insured again. It's not going to happen. It's independent medical advice. So he clearly passed his HIA. I think the issue is Petter Hiku. And I think in his concern for December, he lifts his arm to see if he's unconscious, to get the trainer on. I don't think it's the same as trying to pull somebody up who you don't think is injured. Having said that, you don't do it.
No, they do not.
It's quite clearly in the rules. You do not touch a player who's injured. You wait for the medical staff to come on. So I sort of get that he has to be referred to tribunal. If I'm Holkar, I'm saying you can see in his face he's not picking him up. It's genuine concern for an opponent who he's been involved in a tackle with, who's injured. He wants to see how he is, and
they're no lawyers.
Leave that to the medical staff.
They're no lawyers.
They've got lawyers,
and he's in the New Zealand squad as well, so he won't want to miss the Pacific
might be missing the Pacific Championships. Yeah. But I think all the talk of he was spark out and unconscious and he should never have come back. It's not our decision to make. There's doctors that make those decisions. I
mean, we were so far away. I thought that one of Rob Burrows' daughter was his wife on the big screen. She's that tall. Nice moment for Bevan French, first recipient of the Rob Burrow Award as Player of the Match, following in Jake Wardle's footsteps last year, being the last winner of the Harry Sunderland Trophy, and he's a deserving winner. I voted for Luke Thompson because I thought I've got to give someone credit for the defence, because he was on there for 70 odd minutes or something ridiculous. And I could have picked any one of the forwards. It's difficult to pick between them, but Bevan French was always going to win it as soon as he scored that try, you thought, unless anything happened afterwards.
I don't think it was that try. I think it was every time he got the ball, he put uncertainty into the minds of the whole KR defence. There were the penalty. Wigan conceded a penalty. Luke Thompson, probably why he wasn't the player of the match. Mikey Lewis just manages to kick the goal from right in front. Yep. They need a goal kicker next year. If only they could have signed one. So all of a sudden it's 7-2 and they're back within a score. And from the next set, it's Bevan French that gets the goal line dropout that leads to the penalty that Lewis concedes by tipping Farrell up over the horizontal. So it wasn't just that Lewis did that one thing that we'll all remember and will be endlessly replayed. It's that every time he got the ball, he made things happen, and he there was indecision in the whole KR defence because of his brilliance, not because they missed tackles or misread what was going to happen. Sometimes players are just undefendable.
He's quite good, isn't he? He's quite good.
He's all right.
The Super Bowl is a thing that happens in America. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs have won it for the last few years, haven't they, I think?
They've been in, I don't know if they've won it every year, but they seem to always be in it.
They're all thereabouts.
Why do you want Wigan to play them?
I mean, they could do, couldn't they? I'll tell you what's ridiculous is the amount of times journalists here report on the Welsh fella who's he's never going to play in the NFL. They keep saying...
Is he not playing?
He's on the practice squad at the Jaguars. And bearing in mind that the Jaguars are crap.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like the Hull FC.
Are they here this weekend?
They are. They're like the Hull FC of the NFL. If he can't get into their team, he ain't any good. He's not going to make it yet. You could play this week. Oh, look at him. What's he? I don't know anything about the NFL. But the way they talk about him is like he's about to, become this superstar. He's never played the game before this year. But Kansas City, they're a bit of a dynasty. Wigan, are they a dynasty? Don't know. Could be.
Dynasties are only retrospective.
Can't be after 3 years, can it? But
I think they could be, because they've got all the ingredients. It's purely down to, can they keep themselves motivated enough to... But I mean, St Helens did 4 in a row. Penrith did 4 in a row.
Well, as Richard said, I wonder how many decades we'll have to wait before a non-Saints, Rhinos or Warriors team win the grand final. Personally, I can't see it any time soon. But does it matter? Does it matter? Does it make any difference? Does anyone outside of our bubble care if Hull KR win the grand final or...
I think you've got to go in stages, and we're getting more teams playing in grand finals and Challenge Cup finals. Hull KR were the 10th team. You know, we saw Salford make their first final. We've seen Castleford make their first final. Catalans make their first grand final. Slowly underneath the bigger teams, other teams are coming to the fore. So it will happen. It will happen. But when Wigan are as good as they are, I can't begrudge them it.
Does it make any difference to anyone outside?
No.
I don't know who the champions of rugby
It's a really, really interesting question, because everybody said the reason we needed a salary cap was because the previous dynasty of Wigan teams dominated. Were terrible for the sport, we all said. The outside world said, I love all these players. That we still love Ellery Hanley and Martin Offiah and Andy Farrell and Sean Edwards. And you go, but they were the generation before. But they're the people that are still lauded outside of the sport. So, does it do any harm? Probably not. Everybody who takes a passing interest in football seems to quite like players that play for Manchester City, who are pretty dominant, aren't they? Until they get relegated to the Northern Four Premiership or whatever.
Maybe in 20 years' time, Bevan French will be in a pink suit at the Challenge Cup final, handing over the Lansdowne Trophy to whoever.
Yeah.
In 20 years' time, I don't know who that
And maybe Matty Peat will have a coaching career at Wigan that rivals the likes of Wayne Bennett in Australia or Craig Bellamy, and people will say...
Surely one day someone in Australia goes, he's doing all right, this Pete fella, wouldn't he?
I think he's got... because he's come through the entire Wigan system, and he even began his coaching in West Horton, I just think he's got what Wigan is, and an affinity to Wigan, and an understanding of the town of Wigan, and it means a lot to him. And I think if you take that away, he'd still be a very, very good coach. But I don't know why he'd ever want to go anywhere else, because he wants to make life better for the people of Wigan.
Is he the next England coach?
Could be,
because that's the career progression.
Could be, because again, it doesn't have to be a full-time position. Whether he could get that kind of spirit melding people together who aren't first and foremost Wigan. Not sure. I don't know.
Let's pick the Wigan team.
But
how long's Bevan French got before he's a naturalised citizen or whatever it is? Get him in the England team. Could be the new Rangy Chase.
I just thought they were brilliant. I think the whole way they go about their business is brilliant. I thought they played the perfect 80 minutes in the grand final, and I don't think we should detract from their brilliance in any way whatsoever. And I think we should laud the fact that Hull KR came as close as virtually anybody has in a grand final to winning it, but they didn't have what it took to break down a defence that I don't think any team could have broken down.
Bevan French is as English as you are, right? Oh, that's a different podcast from a couple of years ago. The England squad's announced tomorrow, isn't it? The cut down.
It's reduced,
the cut down
yeah.
squad.
The Samoa squad's been announced, with a lot of stars. If you haven't got a ticket
all your favourite
yet,
Samoans,
go and see the running test match, because it will be great.
The fellow from Penrith with the hair and the hat, he's in the team. I recognise him from the grand final.
Captain.
The good Penrith, but as are Samoa. It's going to be an interesting series. I like how we're still selling it on revenge from 3 years ago. I don't think anyone's bothered about it.
The important thing, as we've said about Wigan, is that a lot of the players that have been selected have elected to play for Samoa. They absolutely really want to. So people like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, who was a legend in New Zealand, just come back from a stint with the All Blacks, wants to play for Samoa. So I don't think there's going to be any doubt that they will be absolutely up for the challenge.
Why are Fiji picking Jared Hayne?
He's in the coaching stuff. He's not playing.
Oh, right. I just read the headline, you see.
I think he's an
Don't pay attention to headlines.
I think he's an assistant coach.
Apparently, according to T earlier, there is a live stream scheduled to go live on Wales's YouTube tomorrow at 7:15.
Well,
so we'll see.
Good old Wales. You see, they understand how live streaming works.
As opposed to everyone else. Andrew says, did Wigan and Hull KR have to pay for their own medals like Hunslet did? No, because they actually won something important. I think this has been an embarrassment to the sport, and not for the reasons people are going to think. Hunslet won the playoffs in League One to play off for a place in... They should have got a trophy. It wasn't a final. The final was yesterday.
They did put out in their press release that it was the first silverware they'd won for 10 years, I think. And you just go... Silverware for being not quite the best in the division. It's
these medals that the
I get it. They do it in football, don't they? You win at Wembley in the playoffs, you get a trophy, but you go up promoted, finishing second. You get nothing.
These medals that the fans have crowdfunded for, well done to the fans. What do they mean? They're just going to be from a local shop. They don't mean anything. They're not awarded by anyone.
No.
It's nonsense.
But
And the fact that people, it was just another reason for people to kick the RFL for last week. But for the last 2 years, Leeds have won the Wheelchair Super League Leaders Shield, which is an actual competition, and they haven't got medals.
Congratulations to Hunslet, though.
Yeah,
That
well
is-
done.
that is a
Amazing
huge
to beat
achievement.
Keighley last week.
Yeah.
They were nearly knocked out against the Midlands in the first round.
Yeah.
To win at Swinton yesterday, amazing achievement. Not saying anything about the achievement,
And
but the medal
whilst
thing's
I,
nonsense.
again, haven't seen too much of the highlights because it was quite a busy weekend and it was quite late that game finished. Jack Render sounds like a special finish because in every one of their playoff games he has scored or been involved in the scoring of the winning try, and it's always a brilliant acrobatic finish. So
Great
watch
stuff.
out for that name, Jack
Great
Render.
stuff from the sportsman again.
Yes.
And I've seen people say, why is this and why is that? It's up to the clubs to sort something out. They turned down the deal from Premier, rightly, I would say.
And the
but the
sportsmen
fact that
have got the big game this
Yeah.
this Saturday night, Wakefield and Toulouse.
The fact that the clubs haven't done anything themselves when they've got the opportunity to.
I mean, maybe that they don't have the money to do it, but I suspect it doesn't cost a lot and might actually generate you some income.
Bulls Live was 2018 because we left halfway through the season. So we're 6 years on from that, and clubs aren't doing. It's banging the same drum we've banged before.
Yeah.
So there's no point.
Yeah.
Les says Render not good enough for Fev. Daft. I'm assuming he's thinking Feather Daft there because obviously he's.
Yeah, he played for Sheffield and Featherstone earlier in his career, but he has been. Every report I've read and the odd highlight clip that I've seen, he has been the star man.
Superb achievement. And Alan Kilshaw fallen on his sword after
offered his resignation, which was apparently unanimously accepted.
Our team's allowed to
Mr.
run
Kellner
academies.
was crying last night.
Oh,
Sent
but
me
he
a
would be,
message.
yeah.
Just bugger.
All of the Swinton celebrity fans, which are all called Kellner, I think.
We did that in the car on the
Yeah.
way back from Hull.
Our team's
Once
allowed
we
to.
got out of Hull.
Yeah, what's going on in Hull? Are teams allowed to run academies, or do they have to get permission? Does anyone know? Have they changed?
Any team can run an academy, but to be accredited, you've got to pass certain
And a lot of clubs have their
criteria.
things with tie-ups with colleges, don't they? Which
Yeah.
gets around it.
Yeah.
So,
But to be an elite academy, you do have to hit certain standards.
what happens at Fev next year? Now they've got their new ownership and.
Well, again, because we've now moved to grading, it's a different criteria. What do Featherstone want to be under the new criteria?
So when Hunslet finish top of the championship next year and don't get into Super League because of the IMGs,
What a repeat of...
because they haven't got LED boards or enough social media followers, all those tired people on the internet who say
a
those
repeat
things
of
all
when
the
they
time.
won the...
the grand
Division
final,
One
yeah,
grand final.
beating Dewsbury. Pulled the drawbridge up, didn't they? That's the problem. But well done, Hunslet. See how they go next year in the championship.
Well, it'd be also interesting
Don't have to go to Gull or
to
Cornwall.
see what grading Hunslet get as opposed to Swinton, because I still have not worked out how you can have promotion, relegation and a grading system at the same time. Don't work. You either have one or the other.
So that's next week, isn't it?
I think it's the Tuesday or Wednesday after the Wakefield Toulouse game, because obviously that counts in the grading.
In the point. So see what happens next week. It's all exciting for our grading. Well, it wouldn't be on before the grading.
Presumably it'll be on Sky, a bit like the licensing was.
yeah.
We're here at Wakefield to see them get relegated. Oh,
Told this
Celtic
story-
Crusaders have pulled
told
out.
this story before. I recorded a bit for Yorkshire Radio, not to be confused with Radio Yorkshire for legal reasons, where I was talking in advance of the decision being made that Wakefield had lost their licence. And then, of course, it
Well,
never got...
Wakefield accepted they'd lost
It
their license.
never got played out on air because, of course, they didn't.
No, because at midnight
Lol.
a phone call was made
Lol, 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 lol.
and Celtic Crusaders ceased to exist.
Has there been, before we get on to yesterday's events, has there been any other news in rugby league this week? There all the awards, but we talked about them on Wednesday, didn't we? Because you've been there.
Yeah. No,
They
I mean, I thought,
Internationals are coming.
yeah, I think we talked about the odd transfer that's either happened or about to happen. I don't-
Surprise at the grand final, there was no commemoration of Brian Lockwood
Yes,
as a
extremely.
as a former Hull KR player. Many
Well,
other clubs have.
Player of the match in the 1980 Challenge Cup final, which for Hull KR fans is still obviously that moment that they cherish above any other.
I'm sure there was some reason why, and I would say
I would have
at Old
thought they would have-
Trafford,
Yeah.
it's difficult to get everyone
Yeah.
to stay silent because there's all the air horns and
Yeah.
no one pays attention to the announcer.
But you can have a minute's applause to get round that. And I was surprised that maybe Hull KR didn't play in black armbands, unless they did, and where we were sitting, they were discreet. But I thought more would have been made of that. And another World Cup winner who's sadly gone. Great player. You won't remember.
No, sadly
I
not.
saw him play.
But the Wakefield didn't do anything yesterday either, apparently, and so.
Okay, well, we're running out of games to do, and maybe they'll do it for the first Test match because obviously he's a World Cup winner with Great Britain.
Test matches in 2 weeks' time. Is it the men on the Sunday at Wigan? Or
Yes,
the
it's the
Saturday?
wheelchair on the Saturday and the men on the Sunday, and then the following week it's the women and men double header at Headingley.
At Headingley. And then England might play France in a wheelchair game in France, but it's not been officially
And
announced.
possibly Spain in a wheelchair game in France.
In France, not Spain.
It might be either South France or North Spain, but the,
No, it's all
the Catalonian region.
The Catalan.
But I think the plan is to expand the England squad, wheelchair squad, to give opportunities to players that are on the fringes, and they would play them against Spain. But not announced yet because the venues haven't been confirmed.
Well done to lose on beating Bradford as well, by the way.
And well done to Wakefield on beating York.
Yeah, 22-13.
Both great
Tight
games.
game, yeah.
They both sound like fabulous semi-finals.
I think one of the great stories of this year has been the. It's not redemption because I think we always recognised he must have been a decent coach to be given the job in the first place. Mark Applegarth,
Yeah,
to take York
fantastic.
from nowhere to within 80 minutes
Well, I
of the
think
grand final.
Paul Cooker's mentioned in his column that they lost 3 out of their first 10 and won 12 out of their next 17. That's some record to turn that around.
And under the pressure because the Valkyrie, they keep winning things. So the
I,
men
mean,
are rubbish.
I don't think he had regular halfbacks for a lot of the season. either. So again, the championship table and semi-finals and now the final has turned out like Super League. The top 2 teams are in the last game. The only thing I would say is that I do think the championship final, whilst Wakefield have earned the right to host it by finishing first, should be at a neutral venue. Now I know there's more cost involved, but
Which
I think,
neutral venue?
well, I think it should be Headingley
Headingley. Yeah.
because
It's the only. We're not going to take it to Fev or Dewsbury, are you?
well, it's available.
Or Cass.
I think the fact is that at the moment, it's a Super League ground. You're talking about 2 championship teams, so it's a venue that they haven't played at this year, but it's a prestigious venue. Talking to players again at Old Trafford, we could have had that game at the number 1 ranked team, couldn't we? But it's a final. Yeah. It's an occasion. It's an event they want to play in front of 70,000 people. And Wakefield's a great ground, but Toulouse have already been there this year.
It's a great stand.
The fans can go up the road to Leeds, celebrate their victory, go back to Wakefield.
We haven't been to Headingley for a year, so that's good.
But
Since Christmas. So yeah,
But
you're right.
I just think
Headingley is the natural venue for
well,
this.
not necessarily every final. Every meaningful game should be at a neutral venue because it means more to the players and fans.
But it is one of our own grounds as opposed to taking something to Oldham or something.
Yeah. And Wakefield fans would like nothing better than to lift a trophy
at Leeds, for the first time since 1968. There's something else about the championship I was going to mention, but I can't remember what it was now. So it can't be that important, otherwise I would have remembered.
I think the logistics that Bradford had to go through to get to Toulouse need to be looked at. Because again, you don't know until a week before where you're going to be playing. But
the only way you can get rid of them is to get rid of Toulouse. But
Bradford had to fly from Stansted on the Friday and back into Bristol today. And you're talking again about predominantly part-time players. It's a huge ask at this time of the season.
But then that's just the problem of having to lose in the competition, isn't it? It's what do we do about it?
Not if when you get into the latter stages of the regular season, you know that there's a chance they could be playing at home.
Do you say they have to play over here?
No, I just think we need to find.
Well, that's why the final's on Saturday at 7, isn't it?
Yeah, because that's the only.
Otherwise, I would have gone. But I mean, I'm glad Toulouse are in it and not Bradford because I wouldn't have gone if Bradford were in. So, I mean, I'm not going anywhere.
I'm just saying. I think we need to be a bit smarter about
everything.
Well, no, about realising in advance that there might be a logistical issue and how do we get round it, rather than going, you know, the drive to Stansted is difficult enough. Never mind coming back to Bristol.
I'm assuming Martin Coyd will be listening to this when he's landed on wherever. So I hope his
Malta.
I hope
Was
his
he going
trip
to
to the airport went well, because
Yes.
that's what he was doing, wasn't he? I'm sure there's other things I have to mention. Ian Boldsworth's listening. I know what I found annoying about the final. Was it Wigan winning?
Yeah,
He's a Saints fan, isn't he? So
it will be that.
we were there fairly
His
early.
column's great though in this month.
Coming out, it's up there in the corner. That corner. Still can't work out how cameras work. We were there fairly early this year. I think we're there, usually there early anyway, but it did fly by the day. It did feel like it flew by. I don't know much about the band.
Lasagna was out early.
Yeah, it was nice lasagna.
And then they bought chips after
yeah.
we'd had dessert.
The band were good. I
band
mean, I
were
don't
fun.
know any of their songs.
I like
Lathams.
the way they introduced the teams coming out. I think that integrates that into the entertainment package.
Now, last year at the wheelchair grand final and the women's grand final, they had someone singing Jerusalem, and we didn't have that this year either. So there's your rugby league
Was
cost
Lizzie
cutting.
away?
I don't know. There's your rugby league cost cutting. I mean, I could have gone on and sung it. Iconic hymn, apparently, Jerusalem.
No, everything's iconic.
Personally, prefer I Was Cold, I Was Naked, because I always got a laugh at school. Went to a Church of
Was
England
that
school.
iconic?
Well, it must have been. Church of England. Iconic Selby Abbey Primary School. All them. Be bold, be strong. That's a bit more of a guitar-based Christian hymn.
So will you be supporting Gould then?
Go Vikings. For being from Selby, no. I mean, should support Castle. Well, I'm not from Selby. I just lived there
No.
for a bit. But no, I won't be supporting Goal. Why are they the Vikings? Well, we went through this yesterday on the way home as well. But
Well, they've every claim to be the Vikings.
so the York. Maybe we should have more than one. Maybe just three.
The Battle of the
Vikings.
Vikings.
Yeah. York Knights.
Different clans.
The Valkyrie is some kind of Viking-y thing, aren't they? They're the female Vikings.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Widnes's women's team should be called. Widnes Valkyrie, just to really wind up York. Because they love everyone getting under their skin. Thought Hunslet's, whoever was doing their Twitter feed last night at 1 a.m. didn't really need to reply to Gav Wilson's tweet from last week saying they'd earned the right to lose by 20 to Swinton. I thought that was a bit mean-spirited, because just encourage a pile on if you've got fans. Just, you don't need to do that.
Maybe you get more IMG points.
IMG points. Well, they don't want IMG points.
Oh,
'cause
no,
they're,
that's right.
they're
They don't-
anti-IMG.
they don't
aren't they?
agree,
What have
don't
IMG ever done for us?
Exactly.
Got some dodgy LED boards or something. But the magic of IMG took us to Hull yesterday, and nearly didn't
Took us
stay.
in all right.
Yeah. For
Blocked the roads off getting out.
the excitement of the wheelchair grand finals. Now we turned up right in time to watch the end of the first game, which is
Yes.
great because it went to Golden Point. So well done, Sheffield Eagles.
Great game. And the amazing thing about that is that it was a repeat of last year's championship final, which ended Gravesend Dynamite 88, Sheffield 8. And for Sheffield to turn that round and winning Golden Point extra time 38-36. Fantastic.
And Sheffield Eagles streamed that game. So because
Can be
we
done.
were getting in the way of the camera.
Can be done.
Apologies to Sheffield Eagles.
Yes, every time the ball was
Actual-
going in the far left-hand corner, we were leaning over and saying, could you just move back a bit?
So that was good. Well done to them. And then they had some award ceremony. And
They
lots
did.
of people got
Championship awards.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it was
We
the
got
main
some
event.
cake.
We got some cake. And then we had to. We were killing time before the final, as you do. You just
Well,
sat
you
there,
were. I was
sat there. You were writing a magazine.
frantically updating it.
So much so that you couldn't work out who the blonde was on Sky. You thought it was. You thought Tom Coyd was Jenna.
Who's that with Jenna? No,
From behind, you can't tell.
From behind on a balcony.
Yeah. And
He had long hair.
How many feet away were we?
He had long hair.
If you've ever got Tom
Handsome
Coyd mixed
looking
up,
guy.
yeah.
But I did mix
Well,
them
Jenna or Tom Coyd, both. If you've ever got them mixed up, let us know. Good to know Freya Levy's a fan of the magazine.
up. And the
She's
podcast.
going to come on the podcast, so that's good.
We
She's
love four different sports.
international
She's in
sport. Yeah,
international.
she's a proper broadcaster as well. She's on telly.
I'm just nipping out to play in the Ice Hockey World Cup
Yeah.
in Norway, and then I'll pop back for the internationals, and then I'll fly out again.
Must be nice, that mustn't it? You know?
She's-
to be good
she's
at
great.
more than one sport. I mean, not even
Big
good at
fan
one.
of Freya.
Leeds Rhinos are the champions. 52-32. Ronnie the Rhino was there
Again, a very emotional occasion for Leeds.
for everyone.
Because they've got to Well, they've won 5 league leader shields, got to the last 2 grand finals and lost them. One of them to Halifax. There was that element of.
They said they wasn't, but we don't believe. We don't believe.
Well, no, Tom Halliwell admitted.
Oh, did he believe?
There was pressure. I think they approached the game really well. I mean, people can say we're just treating it as just another game, and it looked like they did. But what a spectacle! I mean, there's so much. Rob Hawkins in the first half. Unbelievable for Halifax. He was Bevan French, wasn't he?
It's his movement and speed.
His speed.
It's the way he swivels his hips and moves around in there. Because we can do it because we're sat down. We can recreate it.
But the second half, as Leeds have done so many times this year, not only defensively incredibly sound, but the building of pressure, the taking of chances, the belief that the processes that they follow
the process
are going to give them the outcome that they want. It was a wonderful, but again, the skill of Nathan Collins in the second half.
Right, I'm going to break the law here because we got an email earlier in the year from the RFL, all journalists and media people saying, stop putting videos out that you're just taking off the telly because it's their copyright. Well, apologies, but thanks to Sky, you put it on Twitter, so I've stolen it. Just watch this pass from Nathan Collins because it's ridiculous. If you listen to the podcast, you have to imagine it. He gets the ball from the play of the ball. He moves across the line. I'm not Mark Wilson. And as he's being tackled by a ball sign, he falls over, but still passes it away.
While
backwards.
His wheelchair is spinning
twisting.
Round, he's got a perfect pass away to Josh.
I've had to slow it down to try and work out what happened because it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's one of the greatest assists you'll ever see. And what a three in the middle they are, Collins, Halliwell and Butler, and just... The skill is ridiculous. Defending is a skill, again, attacking is a skill.
Every part of that team has a role. So Jodie Boyd-Ward, don't ever go near her. If you're in a wheelchair on the opposition, don't go to Jodie.
Well, you were spotted on TV, hugging her. That's the problem. So you did go near her. She wasn't going to. You didn't have a tag on your shirt, so you're all right.
Yes, she didn't. She didn't level me. But
how did she get the tag off Borsan so many times? Because he's like. He's tall.
But you listen to the collision when she is involved, it's enormous. But captains that team and captains from a difficult position out wide, but he's always shouting at them what they need to do, where they need to be, how they need to approach the next 3 or 4 minutes of the game. She is so important, and you've got Nathan Mulhall, whose role is very much settling the team. Take the ball in if we just need to reshape ourselves on attack. You take the contact for us. A bit like sort of the typical archetypal Jamie Peacock roles. Like, I'll take the next settler. Brilliant. Meant so much to him to beat his old team, Halifax. And then you've got those 3 creative players that just assess the weakness of an opposition and can go for it. I thought Saturday night the game flew really quickly. That is again that 80 minutes at the wheelchair game felt like 2, and the ball never goes out of play. It was sensational, and I know we banged on about it for however many years we banged on about it, but wheelchair rugby league is superb, and again was noticed this weekend because there hasn't been a lot of football to submerge it. Sky did it. Sky put it on Sky Sports News. Clips were on social media. A lot more people were talking about wheelchair rugby league and couldn't believe what they'd seen than we've had before. And even Hawksby and Jacobs were mentioning it this afternoon.
I'm going to have to slow that Collins clip down even more because I'm going to put it up again on screen for the people because it's just ridiculous.
If we
I just can't work out how he's. This should be everywhere. The BBC website at the minute has got highlights of baseball on.
He comes short for the ball,
but
and there is absolutely nothing on. He takes it into contact like any great halfback would, but he's hit as he passes in a wheelchair and spins the wrong way and still gets a perfect pass off to Josh Butler, who just has acres of space to put the ball down.
It's a completely different skill to Bevan French's try, which was one of the highlights. He's going to go down as one of the great grand final tries ever.
And so it should.
And that is one of those moments we watch sport and we go, how do they do that?
Well,
because
we saw it live and we couldn't see it.
Whatever.
It's not that we couldn't see it. We could see what had happened, but we couldn't appreciate what had happened until you watch it slowed down like that.
It's a bit like watching a card trick And you have to slow it
Yes.
down to work out how did Paul Daniels do that?
Yeah.
How did How did he do it?
It's magic.
Just like no, not just like that. You're like this, not a lot, and he did it, and it's like, how did he do that? And it's
But he
it's
did it.
Nathan
He
Crush,
did it
he
two
do
or
that?
three times, and
How do they all do that?
he was again just ahead of a lot of other very good candidates, including Rob Hawkins. He was the guy that turned the game.
For and they're not paid.
They're not-
You know, so to have this level,
They
of
won't be
skill,
tuning in today because they will be hurted.
It's
Both teams.
it's that thing where it's elite sport. These are the best people
They are.
in the competition on each side, and you've got to see them on the telly.
One thing that we should stress as well, the training they put in is unbelievable. Stuff like that does not happen by accident.
How does Tom Coy pick his middles for the test series?
Well, it'd be
Because
interesting.
you know, you've mentioned Rob Hawkins a couple of times. How do they all fit in there?
Well, but that's what you want.
At least
Competition
Jodie's
for
Welsh or Irish or English. She's very Yorkshire though.
play. Aye, from Wolverhampton, but very
Oh,
Yorkshire.
dearie me.
It's rubbing off.
Same with the pass behind the goal in the second half, says Neil.
Yeah.
When Josh Butler nearly went the length of the field.
That was unbelievable. But again, the vision and the confidence and the,
Vision and
and the
awareness.
belief to do it. It looks like you're going to be thrown over your own line, which would be a goal line dropout, and you've slipped a pass away, and suddenly you're attacking at the other end. Changes games.
Hey, it's great to see a winger wearing number 10 because it reminds me of my career. But also, I've broken my runners-up medal from the Wakefield Schools Cup. I mean, maybe we should crowdfund so we can get me a new one. But I've said this before, and I said it long before. From one of the first times I saw Nathan Collins play. He reminds me so much of Rob Burr in the way he plays, and that's not a comparison I'm saying just because of what's happened.
No,
but
it's,
he just reminds me of the way he plays.
He's instinctive. I asked him after the game when, again the players were just the fact that young kids were coming on and giving crunchies to Josh Butler. it was just a wonderful afternoon. I asked Nathan how he did that, and he said, "I have no idea."
They don't know.
It's just instinctive brilliance, and that's Burrow-esque.
It's 2024 has been a rubbish year for me, but what has been great has been following this term parasocial relationships. People on the internet, they think they know people who they follow on Twitter or whatever. And I think that's what happens when you cover sport. And this weekend will be 22 years since I did my first game, which was Frickley versus Accrington Stanley. And when you cover a team all the time, exactly. And if I could find my notebooks, nothing's changed in how I structure everything. It's weird, but from when I was following Wakefield and Emily for a season almost, and obviously Albion, and now you're doing rugby and you do whatever, and you get attached to a team because you see them all the time, and that's what's happened this year with me and the Leeds Rhinos wheelchair team, and it was such an emotional moment when they won, and
Because it meant so much to them.
it was great.
And James Simpson,
And
I think, stepping back from being an elite player to now being an elite coach, it's a transitional thing, and they hadn't got the recognition that their weekly performances in the last 2 years because they hadn't won the major prize, but now they have.
And it's going to be fascinating to see England versus France,
Well, and also fascinating if Leeds play Catalan in the European Challenge and where that's played.
Where's it going to be played? Just a great day, a great day,
A great weekend,
and it's
a wonderful weekend for the sport.
It's one of those things where we need to work out how we can make it more accessible to people. I know this sounds stupid, but you have to make things easy for people. I said this about Warrington's women against St Helens when they played when Warrington played Saints on the telly at the Halliwell Jones Stadium, the men's teams. Why the women weren't playing beforehand and playing at Victoria Park or whatever? They would have lost. Of course they would have lost. But you're making it accessible to people. And the people in the crowd will go see it. And I'm sure they tried, and I'm sure they put all the effort in, and they would have seen that and appreciated it. But they played across the town. What's the point of that? And it's the same with this. We've got to make it easy for people to see it. And that's not necessarily going to the venue. That's streaming games. And that's down to the clubs now to get a bit of wherewithal about it because people want to see it.
I also think that Sky did a great job on the wheelchair because, again, they've realised that it's a weekend where they haven't got a lot going on and they can... They gave it the respect that it is. It wasn't like, come in, here's a commentary, go. They structured a whole programme around it. They showed the clips afterwards. I do think that this weekend in terms of the coverage that we've had, both with our primary broadcaster. I mean, I got a phone call from the old man saying there's a page of rugby league on the grand final in the Times. We hadn't
The
had
Times.
that. We wouldn't have had that.
Newspaper's still going on.
If the Thunderer, if the Premier League had been playing, we wouldn't have had that page. We'd have had a sidebar. So we did a lot of things right this weekend. Nearly 70,000 people at Old Trafford. Full credit again to Hull KR fans who made a great atmosphere. We're very lucky. We sit in in the middle, so we get the best of the atmosphere from both sides. It was equally good.
Yeah, I forgot to mention. It was great to see so many Hull KR fans stay behind afterwards.
Yes,
because if you're a team who's been there a lot, and your team loses, they very quickly bugger off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
they
it's
wanted to make the most of the occasion, and I think
and the team didn't let them down. That was the other thing as well. So
the team, this is what
good
we've been
to
saying
see
right at the
that
very
respect.
beginning. If you want to play the Hull KR didn't come to the party card, that's fine. To me, they did. They just came up against an immovable object.
If you lose to the best team, there's nothing. There's not
And
much you can
if you
do.
lose by the lowest margin there's ever been, you ain't done a lot wrong.
Well, as James Simpson said after the game, they had to make Halifax make errors.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. And Wigan didn't make any errors. I mean, I've not seen the stats, but I'm assuming that there's not many errors. I mean, I know both teams knock on or whatever. But...
I mean, I haven't. Again, it's a stat that I need to check. Yeah. I would think that possession probably was slightly in favour of Hull KR. They had chances. Mikey Lewis was held up. I just think we've had a really good weekend. I think we've seen some quality rugby league. We've seen some great. Hunslet is a great story.
Yeah.
Hunslet were losing going into the closing stages, but they found a way. I'm sorry, Martin, to eke out a win. A shame that was so late on Sunday night. It means it can't get in the trade press because of the deadlines. But
it's in the magazine.
It's in the magazine.
Martin had to rewrite his column.
No, Martin doesn't
I
write
just
about
write about
rugby
rugby
league.
league.
Nah. But when we get it right, and I thought credit also to the RFL, they don't get enough credit. I thought the staging of of Old Trafford was fantastic. Nothing, I don't think we wanted for anything in terms of the itinerary on the day. I thought it all went really, really well. I thought that we saw some dignitaries down at Hull yesterday. Frank Slevin, the chairman of Rugby League Commercial, Rodri Jones, the MD of Rugby League Commercial. I just thought, Tony Sutton, who gave away trophies. It was a great weekend for the sport. Everybody who contributed to that weekend should be extremely proud of themselves. If we want to criticise, that's our inalienable right, But I think if you see it with the eyes of a neutral, there was a lot of why we love rugby league on display this weekend.
A story that
is that too positive?
Yeah, a story that will have been missed, and because you can't follow everything. Cameron Hills.
Yes.
Never played rugby league before this year.
Yeah.
Got into the Leeds Rhino squad thanks to his university connection.
Yeah.
Got into the reserves. Played in the Super League. Scored in the Super League. We spoke to him after the game, whenever it was.
Got a medal.
Yesterday. His first. I don't know if he knew wheelchair rugby league existed 12 months ago.
He was a cricketer.
And that's the power of student rugby league, in a sense.
Yeah, we need to make more of that.
I don't know. It's been a great weekend, and hopefully it's another great weekend next week when Wakefield win the grand final and a pointless trophy. Not the pointless trophy. That would probably be worth some money. What is the trophy? Is it that rugby ball stuck on a bit of paper that they gave London that time when they went in Toronto? Maybe Ian Watson could be the next Swinton coach.
He's available.
Yeah. He's a Swinton legend.
Started, yeah. Made his name there.
Could be, I don't know. What's it? Because we've got to come back to coaching at some point. Someone will lose their job again soon. Even though there's no more games now. Wigan are going to go without conceding a try until February.
It's astonishing. It is. I mean, I knew that they hadn't conceded a point in 3 games, went back to 1963. I've no idea what 4 games is.
To not concede a try, that is ridiculous. Tell you what though, put Jodie Boyd-Ward on the wing. She'd have tackled right all. She'd have put him in touch. I'm going to dye my hair purple for the Christmas special, I think. then shave it off. I don't know if I can do the plait thing though. I don't think I can manage that. Weren't any hair braiders at the men's final, were there? I don't think. Didn't see any of that.
Wouldn't been any good for me.
Some bad news, by the way, from the women's final. Ian's just sent me this. Leah Burke's done her ACL.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, so hopefully it's a speedy recovery again for her.
Yeah, that means she won't be in the
English one, no. But yeah, good luck to her. And
she means she probably won't go to Vegas.
Either, no. So Stuart Brown's going to have to. He's got a lot of figuring out to do, hasn't he? Because Tara Jane Stanley, Tara Jones is retired.
I think it makes the Wales game even more competitive, which is good.
Yeah,
it gives him a chance to see some of the fringe players they can stake a claim. So no. Looking forward to the internationals. I think Samoa will be a great draw card. They've got some of the most talented players. It'd be good. We're not quite finished yet.
No. Wait for Toulouse, not the biggest match on Saturday, but we'll be back on Monday. I think. Will you be? Yeah.
I might be hungover.
Yeah, we'll see. Danica might be on. I don't know. She'll tell us. She'll tell us next week. James might be on. He'll tell us on Monday. Because we need to hear about his award.
Yes.
They should have put Wakefield Trinity Wildcats on the show. I can't believe his first game was Wakefield, and Wakefield won. Against that must have been in our good point.
It was green, wasn't it? His heritage shirt.
Yeah.
Was it green?
Yeah.
So yeah, he needs to come in with his heritage shirt. None of this. I'm too busy selling houses to people in the rugby league fraternity.
Congratulations York, congratulations Wigan, and congratulations Leeds. Super League champions 2024. Bloody rhinos.
All deserve it.
Yeah, and you can't buy the wheelchair shirt on the Leeds website, so I need to sort that out.
Maybe they'll sort that out now. They are the only team that have bought silverware.
We'll buy a shirt and stick it on the wall. And we've got an old.
We'll ask one of the players this week to donate it.
Well, we're hoping next time James comes in, he brings the League Leaders Shield with him, so we can put the biscuits on it. Will that get us banned by the RFL? Disrespectful to the game. Think of what it takes to lose your accreditation. It'd be us putting biscuits on the League Leaders Shield. But on that bombshell, thanks for watching. Enjoy the week of rugby league. Wales, Jamaica tomorrow.
Yes, if you got a chance, watch the stream of that on Wales Rugby League YouTube channel.
And Ireland beat Greece.
They did. Ireland women. They're in the World Series. 42-6. Comprehensive victory.
Let's have a special goodbye from Ronnie the Rhino. He's rude. No, come back, Ron. Where are you? Ronnie.
Was he waiting for a biscuit? Love you all.
Have a good week and ta-ra.